Hey Greg, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. So what we're going to do today is I'm just going to ask you some questions about your experience with OP, how you found it, what you found easy, and what you found difficult, and just let people know kind of your experience, and so they can get some insight into the whole OP process.
Sounds good. Good.
Okay, so let's start with how did you get OP?
I'm not entirely sure, but I think it was a lack of kind of doing the right like protective and core exercises for an extended period of time, but still being like really active with running and climbing, cycling, and just kind of not looking at the stabilization and making sure my body was working correctly.
So to put things in perspective, Greg's actually a personal trainer as well. So he is pretty in tune with his body and has a pretty good understanding of what's going on and things like that. So when he's talking about his core, he probably has a good appreciation of what it needs and what goes into having a healthy body. I'd be right in saying that, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. So how long did it take to develop for you?
Well, my guess is maybe 3 or 4 years. For a long period of time, I had been really good about taking care of my body. And from the time that I kind of stopped doing all of those little things to the time when I had kind of the first pain, it was probably between 3 and 4 years. So I think my body was like strong enough to withstand any imperfections in what I was doing up to a certain point. So it took a long time to get there.
And to put things in perspective, what was your kind of like daily kind of workouts? What were you doing with your body? What were your activities and sports?
Yeah. So as like competitive triathlete for a while, so if we break it down by week, I might be training anywhere from 12 to 18 hours a week, maybe um, you know I don't know 3 or 4 hours in the pool a week, maybe 100 to 200 miles on the bike, and maybe 30 to 40 miles running, along with some strength work. And I really enjoy rock climbing too, so I'd probably be climbing 3 to 5 days a week, bouldering, sport climbing, and different things like that.
So I thought it'd be really good to get like your perspective in terms of being a PT and also being such like a well-rounded athlete that I think a lot of people with OP necessarily aren't like full-on athletes, aren't training all the time, or maybe they're like soccer players who are like have a specialized sport. But you that's a pretty well-rounded, like you're swimming, you're running, you're cycling, you're
Yeah.
climbing, kind of thing. So I thought it was cool to get your perspective on stuff, just this idea that it can kind of happen to anyone, even someone who's as well versed with your body as you are. It can kind of come up and be a real mystery that can come out of nowhere sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a mystery for
And
a long time.
as you were training and whatnot, did you used to get many injuries? Were you like when you were cycling and riding, doing all that stuff?
No, never. This is probably the first time I've ever been seriously injured. Um, yeah, I mean, you get little, like, oh, maybe my knee hurts for a day and then it's fine, or like, oh, maybe my arch is like, okay, I think things are starting to get tight, so you take care of it, but nothing ever lasted maybe longer than a week or so. Um, so I've been pretty healthy for most of or all of my athletic career.
And so you started to get OP. What did you try kind of first? What was your first point of call?
First thing was rest. I thought maybe it was some sort of acute injury. So I just tried to rest, and when I rested, it seemed like, oh, I think it's getting better. But as soon as I resumed any activity, it was back again. So it like resting and trying to get rid of any inflammation didn't seem to be working. So I started like asking different people that I knew, chiropractors, people that practice like active release technique, physical therapists, and kind of going through different things. And um, they didn't have a whole lot of insight. Like they had never really heard of it. I had done a little bit of research online, and and I came across the word like osteitis pubis, OP, but really, like he gave a definition, but that wasn't helpful at all. And when I asked people about it, they had never heard of it before, or had no real idea how to treat it. So I mean, just tried whatever they gave me, different stretches, or went through like a hip and glute strengthening routine with one PT office, which I think probably made me a little stronger, but it didn't really do anything for the symptoms I was experiencing.
It's such a common story, just that no one kind of hearing it thing. And the most common thing, and people, you can take one message home, rest does not really help this condition. It's such a common thing. It's generally like, go to the doctor, go to the thing. Oh, hey, yeah, you should rest. You needs to rest. You rest, you feel better, you get back and playing, and then it's just bad again, kind of thing. But it's not the rest that's so evil, it's the getting weaker kind of thing, but such a common thing with the whole rest and just how it can actually make things so much worse once you get back onto the track kind of thing. All right, so you've gone through the ringer, you've jumped online. How did you end up finding my site?
So, because we're in different countries, your website didn't automatically pop up when I searched for it. So I think one night I was just really frustrated, and instead of Googling it, I went on the YouTube and searched there. Your video popped up. It had a little introduction, and the way that you explained it really like spoke some like truth to me. Like, oh, that makes sense. Let me like check this guy out. So that's when I like found your website, and then found like a whole, I don't know, 5 pages or 7 pages dedicated to OP. And so I just read it a couple times over that night, and I think I sent you guys a Facebook message and got like an instant response.
Oh, that's right, because I don't take care of, my business partner takes care of the Facebook page. That's right, you spoke to Matt, and then Matt, oh, that's really cool. I didn't realize you'd come through YouTube like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm launching the new site. My hope is that it won't be such a mess. Like the old site, because that thing was just, I was basically, all right, I'm going to put as much information down as I can, because there's just nothing about this. So I'm just going to put as much out there. It's better to have something out there than to be like fretting over it being perfect. So I just put everything down, and I really felt sorry for people who have to like read through the jumbled of my thoughts that it was. It's just like just random ramblings about OP. But yeah, it seemed to at least help people. So I'm glad it's out there. I'm much happier when I've actually got a manicured, this is specifically want to say version of it. All right, so you read through the crazy site, you watch the crazy videos, you're like, all right, cool, I want to try this OP thing. What was your reaction the first time we had like our first session, and you're kind of like, and I'm just explaining all these things, and there's like, there's pelvises lying around and all this kind of crap. What was your reaction? What was your thing?
I loved it. So like, coming from a personal trainer background and like just getting started with school and physical therapy, like all this information is like fascinating to me. So I love that like you took the time to explain and answer any questions that I had, like how it works. Because for me, like understanding the mechanism is really helpful and important. Like it works with my brain, and so I really enjoyed that. And I thought at first it was kind of like, okay, how are we going to really do this via Skype? How are we going to do this remotely? But we did a short assessment to kind of verify that what I thought was going on was what you saw, and it was super simple. And I just remember it being like pretty obvious to you, like what was happening, and that was comforting to me. Like knowing that you had gone through this with other people, that it was common, because it was seemingly very uncommon and weird from everything I had heard previously, and that like there was a solution. Like that was, it instilled confidence. I think I was like really excited after that session.
Oh, that's damn good to hear. It's funny. I feel like I might be the only person in the world who's like, all right, there's this problem. People seem to really be in pain. Let me just like spend some time to like focus on this because no one else seems to be doing it. And it's funny because like every time I do it with someone, it seems just like so like because that's the only thing I'm doing, right? So it just seems so common, and it seems so like, well, this happens, this happens, this happens. I sometimes kind of forget the process that people go through before they get to me. It's like, oh, I've been to this therapist, this parent, this therapist. Because to me, it's like I'm only really seeing OP people, so it's like, oh, this is the most common injury in the world, even though it's not. All right, cool. So you have that first session. I like ramble at you, get you a bunch of information. And what Greg was talking about was essentially I just do an assessment where I look mechanically at how you're moving, and then I just relayed it back to him, going, hey, and I like recorded him and showed the video to him, being like, hey, when your hip swings to the side here, it's going to yank at your pelvis, and then I'll grab a pelvis and I'll show him how that's going to occur and things like that. And then basically I just broke down things like, hey, I'm going to now show you, like, you know, when your core engages, it does the opposite. It pulls the pelvis in the correct direction, you're swinging it in the wrong direction, and then kind of describe the process of getting better as reversing the things that are causing the pain of OP. So we have that first session, I get through all that information, and then we jump into some exercises and stuff. How did you find those, like the ab rollout and just, you know, basic body squatting stuff? Because a lot of this stuff you'd, you know, be teaching people as a PT already.
Right.
How did you find, like, you know, coming to it with that kind of background of having done things like this before, but doing it in a really kind of different way?
Right. So that's the first thing that I noticed. It was focusing on different things. It's like probably the most, I guess, I don't know, different or not shocking, but like surprising thing was just how you treat like the muscles of the pelvic floor versus how we're often taught to use them. And that was probably the biggest eye-opener for me in that first session.
Could you explain that? I'd love for people to hear it in your words, kind of thing.
Yeah, so everything that I had learned before was like when you're going to perform an exercise, especially if it's like, you know, if you're going to be working hard, you wanted to like brace your pelvic floor and like engage it kind of to its maximum and to help like stabilize your body. What I learned from you was by doing that, it does create a lot of stabilization, but it does not allow the pelvis to move as it articulates with the sacrum. And so that can cause issues because you're needing that motion and you have to get it from other places. And how you explained how it worked was in a lot of ways like a hammock, and that and it supports you as you like are able to almost relax and sit into it like a hammock does, right? It's that tension of sitting into it that creates stability. And in order to do that, you have to be able to, your body has to recognize stability from other parts of your body, like other parts of your core musculature, so that it feels comfortable releasing that and sinking into it. So that was probably one of the biggest things.
I'm so proud. No, that's really, really cool because yeah, it's such a like it's such a departure from everything like lay people and things that we got taught at school. It was quite shocking myself. It was actually I picked that up from doing yoga and doing some yoga and reading some books from some really intense people who were into yoga, and kind of being like, oh, hey, like, you know, these people were so into their, like, you know, getting the absolute stretchiest they could be out of a pose and a movement, and realizing that if they were gripping their pelvic floor, they couldn't get their leg out far enough, or they couldn't rotate and twist into a position. And then I was just like, oh, hey, there's something to this. Like, and then trying to apply that to weightlifting and being like, oh, wow, life's just easier if you don't rip the crap out of your pelvic floor. One other thing I'd love for you to talk about from your perspective was the role, because obviously you're going to be teaching people all the time how to engage their core, was the role of the breath. What did you think about how I integrated the breathing with the core activation?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. It actually went hand in hand with like breath work that I had picked up from someone else over here. And like it's something we were starting to incorporate into our own like fitness classes, is periodically like dialing into diaphragmatic breathing, learning to like to breathe with your diaphragm basically in support. So this was like a complete like add-on to that. It was more informative than what I had gotten from the other source. It's like, kind of taught why we want to breathe that way and how it provides stability to our body. And so, that was something that I had started to learn about, and so it would just fit perfectly with kind of where we were going with our own like training and business. And I really enjoyed it. Like it was really interesting that you could provide so much stability. Like probably the one that I noticed it most on was the ab roller. And it's like, instead of trying to kind of use like my abdominals to keep the roller there, I could just breathe and just kind of create this tension. And it was, not effortless, but comparatively effortless.
It's like you got like a reserve then of abdominal strength that if you need a little bit extra, then you can kick that into gear, but otherwise you're just resting and ready for action.
Right.
All right, awesome. So you've got the process, you're getting through it. You've gone through it now. How are you feeling at the moment? How's the body feeling?
Good. Really good. Like you said, like there's, the area is going to be sensitive for a while, and it definitely lets me know if I kind of do something wonky or, step out of line. But I'm back to, doing all the activities that I enjoy. And I just have like I'm more conscious about what I'm doing, and I still do, kind of the last routine that you gave me, 3-4 times a week, because it doesn't take long, and it's, not only good therapy, but it's also like a fun workout. And I do notice that if I do that before any activity, like I feel even stronger. And one thing that I've noticed with my running in particular, because we did a lot of like the plyo work, dialing into like the deep like posterior chain, I feel much more like bouncy and elastic as I'm running, like less muscling it along and more like just kind of springing along. So it's going well.
That's awesome, mate. Just to clarify one thing on the sensitivity for people watching this, basically with OP, the dysfunction and degeneration that occurs at the pubic bone, the injury that OP causes, that takes anywhere from 12 months to 2 years to heal. Now, that doesn't mean that you'll have OP necessarily and the pain of OP for that long, because you'll be moving in a way that doesn't irritate that area. But so that was what Greg was basically describing. And essentially, so when he's saying he's moving wonky, it means that if he makes a movement where he overloads that area, because the injury is still there, it's sensitive. So it'll let him know straight away, hey, that's not a good idea. You did that wrong. That hurt. And so then he's basically got a nice output to be like, okay, I got to stop doing that. That was wrong and that hurt. And so then he just goes back to moving correctly again, and the pain kind of isn't there. Just to kind of clarify that. And plyos just means plyometrics, for those who don't know what that is. Awesome. So final question. If someone's watching this and they're thinking about kind of giving it a go, but sounds kind of crazy, going on Skype and stuff like that, what would you say?
I'd say it's totally worth it, because there's not a whole lot out there that works on the same thing. It was something where I didn't know what was going on. I had no solution, and this was like, it was very like step by step. It's organized. There's a plan. So I think that's super helpful. Feeling like you're graduating from level 1 to level 2 to level 3. It worked. So like, if that's something you're struggling with, and if it works, why not do it? And like, as far as Skype goes, I was, I think, most of the exercises are fairly straightforward, and any like corrections that need to be made, you can see like it's almost like having a video analysis, which is almost always done remotely. And I think actually having, and it comes with like the 2 times a week actual video analysis when I'm doing it on my own, and that was really helpful. Not only being able to submit the videos, but it forced me to rewatch my own videos. So I feel like the more you can see yourself doing it, and the more feedback that you get while you're doing it, the faster you'll improve and dial in those exercises. And so I thought that went really well. I know, like personally, like I pick up exercises quickly, and so it was a lot of fine tuning, which I think is the difficult part probably over Skype, is going really fine tuning. But I thought the feedback was always spot on. So yeah, I thought it was good.
Awesome. Let's say, thank you so much for doing this. And yeah, hopefully people will find it useful, and we'll give them a little bit of hope. Thanks so much, Greg.
Yeah, no problem.